shared just a few days ago on one of their webinars, and based on their surveys, what would investors do in this scenario? The reality is that a lot of them are sitting, waiting, and trying to understand what's going to happen next. So it's an uncertainty scenario where not much can be done. But some of the things that investors are doing already is to look at their supply chain, look at their potentially diversifying their export markets, identify what they're doing on top of all the regulations and all the news that are coming out from the authorities in the US and in Vietnam, and as well work with trade bodies, work with authorities, with chambers of commerce, and push the advocacy in the interest of their businesses and their companies. What will we expect in the next period, in the next few days or in the next few months? Certainly trade disruptions. Those will continue, even though the negotiations will kind of settle, and even though 90-day timeframe may end up being positive for Vietnam, it's still going to be uncertainty. There's still going to be trade disruptions. So that's an expectation from the investors that they need to consider when they're putting out their plans. Also, export volumes in these 90 days are expected to grow because U.S. buyers, they see this as an opportunity to stock up with the reduced tariffs on the 10%, at least in the time being before there is any news about what's going to happen next with the tariffs, because in the end, nobody really knows. Diversified strategies, and again, Vietnamese bamboo diplomacy and openness for FDI is significant. Now, going through and finishing with the tariff component that brings a lot of uncertainty, we'll try in the next few minutes, I'll try in the next few minutes to identify what are some of the certain elements that reflect Vietnam's position, speaking on trade investments. Starting with trade, for example, since 1980s and up to now, free trade agreements, it's not just the sheer number of the trade agreements that Vietnam has, it's essentially the growth in the exports and the value that these trade agreements generate. So you can see, for example, Australian trade agreements, after it was signed, 20% increase. Japan, South Korea, 8%. EVFTA with European Union, 15%. Vietnam is that perfect example globally that shows that where trade is engaged, exports will grow, will develop, and more value will be created. Vietnam is also a significant hub as part of a supply chain strategy for international investors. Many reasons for that, and one of those reasons is the workforce, availability of the workforce. Young, skilled population, looking at the wages and how competitive they are. You can see on the slide here, Vietnam is one of the most competitive in the markets. Half minimum wage compared with China and many other jurisdictions regionally in Asia and Southeast Asia. Obviously, the proximity is extremely important as well in this context. Taxation-wise as well, we look at 20% tax rate for Vietnam, looking at other jurisdictions as well, one of the lowest. Tax incentives, geographic, based on geography, based on specific sectors, based on specific industries. The Vietnamese authorities are promoting FDI heavily. They will continue doing that, and they will put out these strategies to make sure that Vietnam continues to be a significant supply chain hub. What are some of the trends that we're expecting in the next few years? Definitely digital economy growth. By 2030, it's projected to reach 30% of GDP. Real estate recovery, investments within the semiconductors and high-tech industries, and a lot of activity from an M&A perspective for international investors, specifically within the healthcare, technology, retail. For strategies, going through now and through the next topics that my co-panelists will cover. When you're looking at market entry strategies, you're essentially, as a foreign investor, having the option of setting up setting up an entity, setting up a clear structure in country, or working with distributors, working with potential partners, working with online, for example, commerce brands that already exist here, and go down the avenue of a light market entry model. In any scenarios, there's opportunities for both of these strategies, and we can talk more in the next few minutes and slides with the other panelists of how these can play out for international investors. From a market entry perspective, with setting up an entity, we have here three examples of how an entity structure is undertaken by foreign investors that want to do a direct investment in Vietnam. The most common scenarios are a limited liability company, foreign-owned enterprise, and a rep office. Rep office has certain limitations. In reality, an enterprise, an LLC, is what investors are commonly choosing when entering the Vietnamese market. I prepared a couple of slides on funds flow and misconceptions and kind of important things to do's and don'ts for foreign investors. I'll skip through those quickly because my colleague Lucy, that is in charge of market entry and licensing, will cover quite a few of those. So in the interest of time, I'll let the other panelists go through with their presentation. Before I do that, I'll invite whoever is online and offline to check out our resource hub online. We have a lot of industry reports. We have a lot of podcasts, videos, guides that are all relevant for international investors to understand the Vietnamese market, Vietnamese business environment, and how to navigate these effectively. Thank you for your attention for these last 10 minutes. Hopefully I wasn't over time on the schedule. I don't know who's keeping track on the timing. But thank you again for your attention, and I'll hand over to my next panelist, Mr. Gene from VW. Thank you.
Okay, right. On the right spot. So, morning, everyone. My name is Gene. I'm from VW Industry. I'm the Chief Investment Officer. So I think basically our business is, later on, I'll give you a deeper dive into our business model. But in short, we are the for lease, for rent industrial facilities infrastructure developer. And now we're having like more than 4.5 million square meter floor plate on the market. And I think like the majority of our clients are from either FDI manufacturing or like big 3PLs, because we build warehouse for these as well. And also I think in retails or all these like manufacturing driven logistics. Okay. So here I would like to share with you the in our experiences and how did we facilitate our clients to realize a really efficient and